One of my close friends lived next to a house that was always vacant. It would sell, some would move in, and then one day they'd be gone and the house would be up for sale again. One summer, when the house was empty again, we decided to go take a tour and eat some Jack-in-the-Box we had picked up. We weren't very smart sometimes, and thought it would be cool to play chicken with whatever was haunting this house. My friend was really skinny and crawled through the doggy door that led straight into the kitchen, then opened the back door for me. We went through all of the rooms, and it was pretty nondescript, just a typical 50s-style bungalow house with a similar layout to his home, lots of pretty woodwork and built-ins. After we determined that the house really wasn't that creepy after all, we sat down in the dining room, across from a little horseshoe-shaped nook, with a kitchen table and built-in bench. It was dusk out, but the windows didn't have curtains, and it never got that dark in our city anyway. At this point, we had been in the house for maybe 25 minutes, and after we finished eating, we stayed sitting just to hang out and talk, since we weren't spooked out at all. All of a sudden, mid-sentence, completely out of nowhere, my vision went black, and I felt this coldness wash all over me. I'm getting chills thinking about it. A feeling so thick, I felt like it penetrated me through my body, down to my bones. At the very same moment this happened, my friend screamed. I virtually could not see anything, and was groping around trying to find something to grab onto, and I felt so unsettled and cold. There's really no other word for it. After what felt like hours, I felt my friend's hands in mine, and he pulled me to my feet and dragged me through the house to the back door. He kept pulling on my arm, and I still couldn't see anything. We got outside, and slowly, you know that feeling when you get a whole body shiver and it runs down your spine? As soon as I was outside, that's what I felt, except this was a whole body shiver that started at the tip of my toes and went all the way up to my scalp, and unexpectedly and suddenly I could see again. My friend was pale as a sheet and looked absolutely terrified. I felt off and sort of in shock. I told him that I couldn't see at all until I was outside, and it felt like I had been enveloped in blackness. He was just staring at me, and I finally asked him why he had screamed. He hugged me and told me that he pulled me out of the house as soon as I started reaching around like I was blind, because a little girl, who was completely black and yet see-through, crawled out from under the table we were across from and sat on top of me. My parents were renting an old farmhouse that had an old barn behind it. It had the big double doors which led into the main barn area, but it also had doors in the exterior of the barn, which led into small rooms, most of which stored old lumber, hay, etc. On this particular day it was very sunny outside, so a lot of light was coming through the one window next to the door, through which I entered into the room. There was a pile of hay in the far corner. The room couldn't have been more than 12 feet by 12 feet. Above the hay was a misty form, which had the very clear shape of a woman floating above the haystack. She had on a milkmaid-type dress, and her head was cocked to the side, and her eyes were wide open. My first thought I remember very distinctly, and it was, I am seeing something horrible that I shouldn't be seeing. I don't remember seeing a rope, but in retrospect, I know that she was hanged. My mother remembers me running into the house telling her that I saw a ghost. The funny thing is that I didn't think it was a ghost until about halfway to the house. I have thought about going back to that house many times throughout the years, but my mother can't remember the name of the road we lived on. I remember my grandmother telling my mother that the house had a terrible fire some years after we moved. When I was 11 years old, I woke up one night and saw a man standing in my room, opening and closing my dresser drawers. He was tall, pale, and shiny, but he looked solid, not translucent or ghostly or anything. I couldn't move at all, but I pissed myself instantly. I shut my eyes as tight as I could, but when I opened them he was still there, opening and closing drawers. I kept my eyes closed for a long time, and finally, after what seemed like hours, he was gone. The next morning, a lot of my shirts and pants were tied in knots. I came to the conclusion that I had a very vivid dream, and perhaps my sister played a joke on me by tying my clothes in knots. Flash forward 15 years. We had long since moved out of the house, and no one had lived there since. I stopped by one day with my mom and 2 aunts, who had lived in the same house when they were kids. When we walked into my bedroom, my mom and my older aunt started teasing my younger aunt about the silver man she saw one time. My jaw hit the floor.